It looks like WWE is adding a brand new show when they head over to Netflix in January. And no, friends, it's not just Monday Night Raw. This is another show added to WWE's already stacked slate of programming throughout the week. We're going to tell you exactly what we know about this situation, what one WWE executive said about this, and what to expect when WWE moves over to Netflix in January. We're also going to have a major update on the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, as he is dealing with what many believe to be a career-threatening injury after his loss to Jon Moxley at AEW Wrestle Dream and the end of his full-time career. We're also going to talk about WWE potentially running a very, very historic arena that they have not ran for TV ever. We're going to talk about all of that right here in this video, so be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Okay, so let's get right down to brass tacks and talk about this new show that seems to be coming as WWE is expanding its slate of programming when they go over to Netflix later next year, Here we go. This is according to Bloomberg. TKO's WWE plans new behind-the-scenes documentary series for Netflix. Here's the quote from this Bloomberg excerpt. WWE is set to debut a behind-the-scenes documentary series on Netflix. The new series is part of WWE's expanding partnerships with Netflix. Nick Khan told the University of Southern California's Next Level Sports Conference in Inglewood, California. Inglewood's always up to no good, but looks like WWE could be up to some pretty historic programming. And again, it was made clear that this would be a series, so this wouldn't just be a one-time deal. It looks like we're at least going to get a couple of weeks where we get another show added to WWE's slate of programming, as well as a show that WWE in like a past generation or even like 10, 15 years ago, we could not see WWE doing. But over the past 10 years, they have leaned in more and more to the backstage stuff. They have leaned in more and more to the idea of like, look, what you see on TV is a TV show. We're blending reality and fiction, but everyone knows it's a work. So what's the harm in letting people behind the scenes? Obviously, we saw All Elite Wrestling do this as well a couple of years ago when they had AEW All Access. And that was a very produced, and you could tell it was a very highly produced show. I would expect something similar from this Netflix show. I would expect to see, people being put into situations where, there's a little bit of drama. But also, I would expect to see a lot more of the behind-the-scenes stuff that we've seen in a few WWE documentaries as of late, especially. I think the Cody Rhodes one is a big one where they really lifted the curtain more so than I think they have in previous documentaries for that specific one, and lifted the curtain on the process, not just one time, not just one little, match or one little segment. This was telling the story of the behind the scenes controversy with Cody Rhodes, The Rock, Roman Reigns leading into WrestleMania this past year. Do I expect it to be just like that? No. But I do think when we're talking about WWE, when they're talking about launching not only Monday Night Raw, but also this brand new series on Netflix, I do think they want to make it special. And I do think that if Netflix asks for something that is like, hey, week to week, we want to be right there behind the scenes capturing the stuff. There is so much interest in it. There's so much fervor about it. You have the dirt sheets, quote unquote, reporting on this all the time. Why can't we get a little bit of a leg up on that? Because we have that direct access. I could very well see a situation where that could be pitched and you could find a way to do it without, hurting or trying to hurt the integrity of the show. But at the same time, I think it's important to note, we have these types of things already in entertainment, right? Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon are two of the biggest shows of all time. Every single week after those shows air on HBO Max, we get a behind-the-scenes mini documentary, like a 15-minute documentary, kind of talking about, the show and everything it took to film it, and also the characters themselves, or the actors themselves, commenting on the characters, their motivations. I could very well see that. Like, Monday Night Raw comes on, and we get a little bit of behind-the-scenes access, maybe. I could very well see that being a thing. We will see what this ends up being, but interesting as WWE adding a brand new show to their programming. But we got to get a brand new partner in on this programming, because, guys, I want to tell you guys real quick before we get into the Bryan Danielson news about our friends over at Ridge Wallet. So you guys may have seen this. It's the Ridge Wallet. It's pretty popular or going around the YouTube scene. You may have seen commercials about it. I had never used it before this week. And honestly, I got to say, after using it for a little bit, it has really grown on me. It's got this little elastic band that helps hold your wallet together. I've got, I'm someone, who is not big on big, bulky wallets. I freaking hate big, bulky wallets. And one of the things that's important to me is being able to put my wallet in my pocket, being able to access my cards pretty easily, because I'm not a big cash guy. I'm all about the cards. So for me, this is perfect. You're able to slide your cards in. You're able to slide them back out, get to the ones you need really easily. Ridge Wallet is awesome, amazing. It's really slim, fits right in your pocket. You're able to hold up to 12 cards in this baby. And on top of all of that, you got this little band to hold your money as well. And on top of all of that, guys, I'm going to give you a deal. You guys can save 10% off your purchase on Ridge Wallet, which comes in a whole bunch of different colors. You guys can save 10% off that by clicking the link in the description. It is tagged right there. You guys can click on that using the code YouTube10. Again, promo code YouTube10 when you click on the link in the description, and you get 10% off your purchase of a Ridge Wallet. Guys, I really cannot say anymore how much I highly recommend this product. I love it. I'm going to use it, and I hope you guys get some benefit out of it as well. So go over to the link in the description. Get yourself a 10% off of Ridge Wallet today using the promo code YouTube10. So with all that out of the way, appreciate that. Shout out to their friends over at Ridge Wallet. Let's go and talk about our next story. Let's get into the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, who all of you will know is my favorite wrestler of all time. Also just happens to be the greatest wrestler of all time. Let's talk about the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter had this to say about Bryan's injury. Quote, Bryan Danielson is going to have an MRI done to see the damage on his neck. He had an MRI done not too long ago, and it showed damage all the way down his neck. What happens depends on if the level of damage is the same as it was or if it worsened. The hope is that he won't need surgery and he can heal up strong enough with stem cell treatment therapy, but if not, he'll have to undergo surgery. Obviously, surgery has been something that Bryan himself has been teasing for a while. Bryan Danielson has said that, one of the things that one of the reasons why he needs to kind of end his in-ring career is not only the mileage he has on his body, the amount of injuries and the way the injuries piled up, obviously his family as well, but it's that, he knows that he needs the surgery, and he has been saying this for months, even before winning the AEW World Championship. He was stating that, I need surgery. This is a thing that's going to happen sooner rather than later. And, with that in our minds, I think it's very easy to see why things went down at WrestleDream the way they did. There was even reports from Fightful that Bryan was in really bad shape his last couple of matches, and there was talk of him potentially not even wrestling in some of these. They wouldn't let him wrestle, according to Fightful, in Blood and Guts. And, there was worry about him wrestling the matches that he did wrestle. So, obviously, Bryan's been dealing with some severe health and injuries, over the last couple of months, even over the last couple of years in AEW. And this is a good time for him to step away. And the main thing that Bryan should worry about, whether it's surgery, whether it's, healing up, is getting better, not for wrestling, because, look, he has done basically everything there is to do in wrestling, whether it be WWE or AEW. He has won the titles on the biggest stage, main evented Mania multiple times, main evented All in Wembley Stadium. This guy has done it all. He's seen it all. And he also might just be the greatest technical wrestler of all. Actually, he is the greatest technical wrestler of all time. He might just be the greatest wrestler, period, of all time. So when you have that, and you have that legacy, and you have the respect of an entire generation of wrestling fans in the way that Bryan does, I think, it's okay. It's okay for him to step back. It's okay for him to go off and spend time with his family, spend time with his kids. And hopefully, if the time does come, then Bryan can wrestle again. Obviously, a program here or there. That was always the idea when he announced that his full-time in-ring career was ending. So we'll see what happens. But shout out to Bryan. Hopefully he gets better soon. As we move on to our next and final topic, let's talk about WWE running a pretty historic venue, because it looks like NXT is going to run the ECW Arena, baby. Let's talk about it. Dave Meltzer, Wrestling Observer Newsletter, says, quote, WWE has a date booked for the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. By the way, 2300 Arena is the ECW Arena. While not confirmed, the belief is that it will be on November 6th, which would be the NXT TV tapings on a Wednesday, the day after the election. The fact that there will be a show has been confirmed by many, just not the date. Okay, so obviously, this being a new era of NXT, they are on the CW. There's a more of a push than ever for NXT to be a priority for WWE, at least over the next couple of months, until the stuff with Netflix really starts to ramp up. I think they are putting a lot of effort into making NXT a must-see show and taking it in very hot wrestling markets like Philadelphia, like Chicago, like New York. That is part of a plan, I think, to take NXT on the road. Get not only the roster of NXT, which is a developmental roster, more, experience in front of wrestling fans, in front of these crowds, in front of bigger crowds that are not just the Capitol Wrestling Center out in Florida. I think it's to also just make the show feel better. One of the things that really plagued all of wrestling in the in the pandemic era, obviously, other than not having fans, that was a big deal. But the way that everything was shot, the way everything looked, and it just felt like you were seeing the same thing over and over again. There wasn't a unique ambiance. There wasn't a unique look to each different show. And I think touring and going to different cities, it provides a different atmosphere for each show, a unique atmosphere for each show. So whether you're in San Jose, you're in Seattle, you're in Philly, whatever, you know that those different markets are going to react in a different way to various wrestlers. And I think that is what makes wrestling as a TV product more interesting as a fan who's watching at home, because you're just like, if the people in the arena are going to be more into something, or if, the people in the arena are doing a different thing or offer a different vibe, you're going to get a little bit more excited, or you're going to be a little bit more tuned in than you otherwise would be. And one thing we know about the fans in the ECW arena, back in the day at least, they definitely offered a unique vibe that you will not get anywhere else. So we'll see what happens. I think this would be a pretty big time thing, because ECW Arena, aka the 2300 Arena, not been run for a WWE show ever. That would be the first time they've ever run it for a television show. I believe they did do a handful of ECW 2006 house shows, but they never did anything, major, like a TV show or a PLE or a pay-per-view in the ECW Arena. So we'll see what happens there. Guys, I want to hear from you, though. What do you guys think about NXT potentially running the ECW arena? Do you think it's a good idea, bad idea? What are your thoughts on Bryan's injury update, as well as your thoughts on WWE Backstage 2.0, them peeling back the curtain? That was me peeling back the curtain. Peel it back. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think about today's video. What do you think about the news? I want to hear from you all. Be sure to also leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. And until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.